Hey guys, what's going on? This is John with Gamester81.com. I'm here with Joe Cody, my good friend, owner of Atari2600.com. How you doing, Joe?
John, it's great to see you again.
Last time the last console we reviewed was the Atom computer.
I remember.
Which was interesting. Today we have a pretty unique console slash home computer that I think would be great to talk about. And I want to thank you to Stu for providing us with the system to review. Thank you, Stu.
Wonderful. This is really something that's fun to look at and to enjoy and to appreciate. I'm pretty excited to see it here today.
And it is called the Imagination Machine, and it comes with an APF MP1000 system. So Joe, tell me a little bit about the system itself.
Well, I guess probably the best thing to do would be maybe start back at the beginning as far as you're right, this is APF is a manufacturer. This is dates to 1978, I believe 1979, maybe when the APF machine was introduced. So it's a very, very early game console with the expansion to allow you to use a computer module interface. So I believe it would be the first instance of a home-based cartridge video game system that you could also expand into a pretty usable computer.
Right. And so this came out in 1978, and the system itself retailed for what, around $700? Is that about right?
Right. I know I've seen some original ads in magazines at the time, and they were $699, I believe, brand new at the time. So it was a pricey item, no question about it.
And I take it this thing didn't sell very well.
You know, I don't know the sales statistics on it, but they're so rare today that it would really kind of it would be something that, because of the price point, I just don't think it was very well accepted in the marketplace. Other thing about APF was this was an American company located in New York City, and they were around before the time of the introduction of this equipment. But I've heard that they were sort of almost like a regional retailer, and that they had a lot of presence maybe in the Northeast or the eastern seaboard of the United States, but maybe into the central U.S. or into the West Coast, they didn't have market penetration. And so you may not have even been able to walk into a store in California and buy one of these off the shelf.
So probably the biggest competitor at the time was probably Atari.
It's true.
Atari had a great relationship with Sears when we talk about distribution, right? And then
isn't that important? That's a good story for Atari? Yeah. They had that locked up, right?
And APF, where it didn't necessarily. So if you lived in the West Coast, Midwest, maybe these were harder to find.
Right. According to the son of the owner of APF, in an interview he did, which is available online. He stated that at the time that this was introduced, they were the third largest home electronics producer behind Atari and Coleco. So that would say that APF was a significant player in third place perhaps, but still maybe lacked the distribution network of Atari or Coleco.
Now APF stands for what?
Well, that's a piece of trivia that only the most... it's actually the initials of the founders of the company. Okay. And I have that information here. It's Al and Phil Friedman were the founders of APF Electronics, and so it's named after them.
And this is not their first go at the video game market, right? They had the they had a Pong type of sports system out there before, right?
Exactly. I know that I've seen several of them myself. They're called a TV Fun. And it was a dedicated Pong type of a system. And I think that you could say that the experience that they gained with their TV Fun, which was very successful in the marketplace, it was a very popular Pong system, probably gave them the capital and the experience to go ahead and release a dedicated cartridge-based game system. And then after that, the Imagination Machine as well.
So they have this is the M1000 right here.
Yes.
And then they also had an MP1000, which was sold separately as a console.
That's right.
Separately.
That's right. And so I think, it makes sense that historically the MP1000 would have come first. It was a dedicated console with game cartridges, and you would have been able to buy that in a retail store. The Imagination Machine came later and was packaged with the M1000, just as you have here in front of us today.
Okay. And so what we have here in front of us is we have the Imagination Machine here. We have the APF M1000 system. This is an important piece. This is a bridge that will connect basically the system to the expansion.
That does. That interfaces between the cartridge slot of the game console and the slot on the backside of the Imagination Machine, and it does. It's necessary to interface the two together.
And then these are what the cartridges look like for the console, the MP1000.
Right. These are all game cartridges. They're brightly colored. They're square. They have game contacts in the bottom, much like an Atari cartridge, and instructions on the back about the different game that are available for the system. But these are the game cartridges that would go in normally into the cartridge slot. And in this case, there's a slot that's directly behind it. It's part of the Imagination Machine. And right now we actually have a boxing cartridge installed, I believe, don't we?
Okay, we do.
So there's about I've seen different reports on the number of actual cartridges that were made for this game system. Some reports show 12. I've seen as high as 15, but I can't say that I'm an expert, and I think that the number might be somewhere in the middle. I'm going to say 13 is probably the total number of. Some of the games have multiple variations on them, but cartridges, you could only 13 is all that was ever released for this system.
This is an important piece too. I want to talk about this real quick. This is the basic APF cart, and you need this cart in order to
use the Imagination Machine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, in today's collector market, if you found an Imagination Machine, it would be unusual to find one, but it's really not usable unless you have the bridge and the cartridge in order to operate this, the operating system on the computer. So here today, it's really a nice, complete system in that it's perfect working condition. It's clean, and it has all these rare accessory pieces.
Absolutely. And Stu also sent this piece right here. I want to talk about real quick. So explain to us kind of what this. Do you know about this?
You know, when you showed this to me today for the first time, I recognized it only from photographs. I've never seen one of these in real life before. It's called the Block, I believe, or a Brick. It's an expansion module for the Imagination Machine. And it allowed you to interface using the serial interface cartridge that you're holding to a printer or perhaps to an external modem or something like that. So this was a device that allowed the expansion of this into a more complete computer system, I guess. Rare? Yeah, this is rare because the Imagination Machine would have been sold as it's complete here. This would have had to have been purchased separately. I imagine this would have probably been purchased separately. I don't know. So what this shows is an expensive unit to begin with additional purchases made by the original owner for these interesting accessories that you just never see. Yeah. You just never have an opportunity to
these are interesting
see them.
Because these have screws. I don't know how well you can see that, but there's screw holes here. So you actually, the idea is you plug this in and you can screw it down.
Yeah, it stays in there. And if you turn it this way, John, over here there's, see the connection here. And that's probably a good idea that this would be securely fastened because there may be a cable connected to a printer or another device, and you certainly wouldn't want that to come loose, and so the screws could keep it locked into position on there. It's an interesting and rare accessory for an interesting and rare video game and interesting and rare computer system. So it's pretty fantastic.
And notice that there's a dial on here too. You can change some type of setting. This is the serial interface. I imagine there was other carts like this you can plug up to. It looks like
maybe 4. It was intended for a future expansion. I'm not sure if they ever did it. There's a device which it comes off of this, I believe, which is a mini disk drive.
Okay.
So it would be an external hard drive or disk drive. I've never seen one other than in a photograph before. And I would imagine that it would also have used this and then one of these other slots to interface. So it would use for that device as well.
So that's a cool item. Very cool.
It's amazingly rare. I can't even imagine how many of these would still exist today. The device on the back, I believe, is a baud setting. You could actually change the rate of the baud interface, so like a modem.
Okay.
But, cool. You know, the other thing that you brought along today, John, which is interesting is, as a person that has an interest in these classic video games and computers, it's great to have the original paperwork. It adds so much to the experience. And, here's the original owner's manual for the Imagination Machine. You have other documentation right there. This is
a language reference manual.
Exactly, for the basic programming language.
1-800 hotline you can call and talk to APF, their customer service, I'm sure. And I don't think that 1-800 number is probably working anymore.
We
should give it a buzz. I got a building block instruction book. So this is a program, I'm assuming, for the
Imagination Machine?
Yeah.
Okay, interesting.
These look like interesting. I don't know what these are. These are...
Well, I looked a little earlier at some of the
receipts.
Yeah, here's the original receipt for the system. Well, some of the accessory. There's the building block, the serial interface, the power adapter, and
119.95.
Yeah, this was in West Virginia.
As you were saying, the East Coast, right?
Right, and this company up here that they bought it from, this was in 1982. Protecto is pretty famous for buying out the obsolete inventory from APF when they went bankrupt, and then selling these mail orders. So this would have been purchased from Protecto, which is where most people got their APF systems, mail order, in 1982.
The handwritten receipt, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, just toss that in there. It's a great item to show the completeness and the condition of this whole system here.
Yeah.
All the paperwork, original receipt, perfect working condition.
This is 1 in a Million Club. This is like a newsletter that APF maybe put out in '84. I'm surprised it lasted in '84 because this thing came out in '79. So at this point,
Yeah, I know. I
It's
mean, in 1984, did you know anybody or have any idea that anybody would be playing a 1979 computer? I mean, you could go into a store and buy a Commodore 64 in 1984.
Yeah.
You could go in and buy a real computer in 1984.
Yeah.
So it is interesting that it's a newsletter for users of the APF Imagination Machine.
This is right here is a programming and tech guide.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry?
That same company shows up, Protecto Enterprises. So I think what you have here, John, is Protecto was marketing the APF machine, the APF Imagination Machine by mail order, and this is probably something they had in their catalog. See, it's published by Protecto, and it's just a programming and technical assistance manual. So if you were interested in programming, you could buy this for $20, and it would give you some shortcuts and some help in some of your basic programming language.
Looks like someone just typed it up too.
I know. Not a lot of graphics in the manual. Yeah. You can read this tomorrow when you have a few hours, John. Just read through that and let me know what it has to say. Okay?
Good reading, right?
Yeah, right.
These are the cassettes. I want to just touch base with these real quick. These are programs and games that were released, programs for the Imagination Machine.
That's true.
And these would load into...
Let's open it up.
Deck. Yeah,
let's go ahead and open it up. This has a built-in cassette deck. It has I believe it's a 2-channel. So that what that means is you can actually have data. You can store and retrieve data from this. You can also use this as an audio cassette, and you can play music. So if maybe you were working on your game program, you could pop in a cassette and listen to some Bon Jovi or something.
One cool feature, which I kind of surprised both of us, is there's a built-in speaker here.
There's a built-in.
And one of the games, Space Defender,
we have it right here.
Space Destroyers. We put it in, and there's while it's loading, there's a guy who actually talks and kind of builds up the game.
It's a game introduction, right? It builds up the game, what the setting is, the theme of the game.
There's a dial here for the volume. Now, the speakers itself could use some help, but that's pretty...
It's still working, though.
Yeah,
it's operational.
Yeah.
And the built-in tape drive was actually pretty novel because a lot of the early computers, like Atari computers and things that would be compatible with this, you had to buy that accessory separate. I mean, the external tape drives for an Atari or a Commodore were something that you'd want to save your game programs or your basic program. Well, here it's already built into the system for you. So that was a nice feature that they included, I think. But it's a lot to talk about. Maybe we should show them how this system works.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's boot this up.
It's kind of fun to go through the different setups. Do you think it'd be a good idea to go ahead and
let's boot up Space Destroyers. Yeah.
Okay. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and turn off the power.
Power's in the back, yeah.
And turn off there's 2 power switches.
One thing I want to mention, there's 2 AC blocks. So there's 2 AC adapters.
Yeah,
there's one for the Imagination Machine, the one for the APF. So that's kind of a pain, but make sure you have a long brick power
You do need to have the space.
Yeah.
Do you have the basic programming cartridge there? We're going to need to put the basic programming cartridge. That'll go into the slot on the back of the Imagination Machine.
Okay.
Now, the setup instructions are that we need to go ahead and turn on the power on the APF, and then you just turn on the Imagination Machine. Perfect.
Oh, I think we got it backwards. I think we have to turn on this first.
Okay.
Then you turn on this second.
Because you're right. It has to have the word. Now we know basic is being read from the cartridge. Mm-hmm. So do you remember the next step?
Yeah. So you have to. There's an EN button on the joysticks here, the controllers.
Yes. And if you press the
EN button here.
Yes, it'll bring
up. I love the plastic. If you can hear that, it's you can hear a little bit of sound.
Yeah, I know. It's
all right. So
bring up the cursor. Now you're ready to enter. Use the keyboard.
Okay. So you type in C load.
C load LOAD and return. Now it gives the directions to rewind the cassette tape, press play, and then return key. So
rewound. It's rewound.
It's already fully rewound. Go ahead.
I'm gonna move the microphone closer here so you can actually hear this because it's going to be.
Laser blaster, you are now ready to meet the enemy. Prepare to fire the laser blaster, targeting your shot by moving
that's pretty
the joystick
interesting.
left
Yeah,
to
that's
right.
cool. It's a very good feature.
And then pressing the firing button, blasting every destroyer in sight. In the never-ending battle of us versus them.
Us versus them.
This is the ultimate space fight. Score well.
Well, pretty impressive. And again, it's because it has the ability to take one track of data and load it up, and then it's playing the audio on the second track. Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Is it still loading? Can you tell?
No, it stopped loading.
Okay, so now with it loaded, I think it's going to be the right controller, the one that's on your side. Player 1 is on the right side, and player 2 is on the left side.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Well, that's an enter button.
Okay.
I think the tape, in this situation, I think the tape it's a 30-year-old tape, so I think it's not loading right. But
oh, well. It's interesting that the audio part of the tape worked, and it did load up this screen right here, Space Destroyers 1980. It's a Space Invaders clone is what it is.
Yeah.
In fact, it's probably one of the most animated graphical games for the system. A lot of these games on this game system are pretty blocky. It only allows for 8 colors on screen. It's a very limited capability on the old APF. And this game here really does a nice job of displaying its full capability.
What would be the benefits of having a cassette game compared to a cartridge game? Do they hold more memory, or do they?
No, I don't think it's that. I think it would be a manufacturing cost. And so a game cartridge for a manufacturer back then may have cost $1 or $2. But to reproduce the same program in a cassette format would have been pennies on the dollar. So I imagine it was more or less a cost-saving thing. But, I mean, in practical terms, I know that some of the paperwork you brought over indicates that you could write your own game program here. I mean, this is a fully capable basic computer. You could store it onto a cassette tape. Then I could mail it to you, and you could put it into your imagination machine, and you could play my program. So it allowed sharing of computer programs.
Turn this off because we're getting some white noise here. But
Sure.
Okay, so could you copy? I mean, you can copy cassettes
You could
pretty
copy
easily,
it.
right?
Right,
So I
there's
guess
no-
the one downfall would be as a manufacturer, you'd have to worry about.
Somebody making copies and
Copies
giving
of
them out
it.
to their friends. Right, but they were also, I imagine, sold at a lower price point, so there's an advantage to that. A lot of the computer manufacturers went to cassette tapes. Atari did, discs and everything else. Cartridges were the more expensive media. Well, we're back to the basic screen here, and that's because you've reset it, and you have the basic cartridge in here, but maybe we should give it a run with one of these game cartridges to see what it looks like.
Let's do unboxing. We had one before.
Sure,
Do
all
boxing?
right.
Is that
Yeah,
cool?
okay, we'll do boxing.
All right,
I have it
we'll
right here in
box
front of me.
Okay.
Here it is.
So let's,
So-
we're going to turn this off first, and then we've got to turn off the
that
second
one
this kind of
next,
sequence, yeah.
So we have to have, you have to have 2 people. All right, here we go.
Okay,
Ready?
now I'm controlling it.
Ah, yeah, me too. If you pull down, you can block like this.
I see.
Oh, well, that didn't work. Okay, now I'm gonna just go for you. Oh, oh, oh no. Sure. Okay.
Still hasn't changed.
Yeah. Wow. Well, boxing is definitely not one of the better games for this system.
Other games that we have for it is Blackjack, Katana, which is like looks like a puzzle game. I'm not quite sure.
It's like a hide the. Then you have to find
Find
and
it,
match
yeah,
and
matching the numbers.
and things like that.
Bowling, micro match.
Over here we have Breakout Shooting Gallery, the old Breakout clone, baseball, and UFO Sea Monsters, Break It Down, Rebuild, Shoot with variations.
Yeah. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Now, kind of interesting fact about this also is these games after they were done, the Arcadia 2001 console, I believe, used some of these shells anyway.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the relationship was,
Yeah,
but they
they're
did
pretty much the
appear.
same.
They
Yeah.
were right. Are the different company, different game systems, but
Yeah.
the Arcadia 2001 utilized the same cases for their game
cases,
cartridges.
so they kind of recycled. a lot
Maybe
of
there's
old-
something.
old
Maybe
stock,
there's
maybe they got hold of old stock.
some type of relationship. Who knows? Could have been just old stock. Well, I think that if time allows, maybe we should try one more game of of boxing here. One more round. One more round.
That's 2 out of 3.
Yeah, you go ahead and clear it, or I'll clear it. Here. All right. Okay.
You at least have to land a punch.
Oh, you know, I don't think my fire button. This system seems to. Oh yeah.
Oh, it's your fire button's not working.
Well then, no, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe not.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that's working.
Oh yeah, it is working.
Yeah. Maybe your finger's not working.
Trash talking on the APF. Oh, wait a second.
Oh, block.
Oh, you figured out the block technique, huh?
Get this down. Block, get out.
Oh. Come over here.
Oh, block.
Oh man, this is like. I'm gonna say, the graphics on this though are actually better than what I would say you'd find on. Well, I don't know. Take Boxing for Atari 2600. It was a top-down game like an Activision one. Real Sports Boxing is a different genre than this, but as far as the time period goes, this is suitable. I mean, it's colored.
Yeah,
It's not black and white.
You got red, blue, green,
and you'd have
purple.
you'd have to think that you'd have to actually compare this maybe against an early Atari game or even a Pong game, which has no graphics. So I mean, given the time period, John, you're up against the ropes.
On the ropes.
Oh, a deadly one. There's no body shots.
No
here.
body
It's
shots,
just
yeah.
all okay. This could be a long night here. Well, oh, 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 there's no
Don't
power.
call it a comeback.
Oh, how? Hey,
All right. Well, Joe,
good game.
yeah, appreciate it. And Stu, thank you again for sending this for us to review and talk about.
A lot of fun.
Very unique.
Nice. Mm-hmm.
It's a collector's item for sure, and
In perfect, great condition too. I have to
something
say.
you don't see every day, definitely. So
Very cool. All right, John.
Thanks, guys.
One more round.
All right, one more round.
Okay. See ya.